And welcome to We the 98ers. And for the first time, all three of us are here together.
Hey!
First week we were without Evan, and then last week I was not here, and Aiden had to call in for a little bit. But we are all here now, and let's talk about the Rays. Rays 5-4 wins tonight.
Let's talk about the Rays, shall we?
5-4 win tonight.
A much needed win after the game I went to yesterday and then Friday night's performance, which was a shellacking. So a much needed win, which I really liked Rich Hill's performance today. It wasn't too bad. Not too shabby at all, but it's something that where, okay, you're going to win 5-4 against the Astros. You better have that momentum going against the Angels when they're going up against Ohtani. And that's going to be a monster of a pitching duel when Glasnow faces Ohtani, when they face the Angels. That's going to be a monster. I can't wait for that to happen.
That's probably going to be the best game of that whole entire series. Like, let's be honest there. I'm loving that matchup, and I think it's going to be great. My thing with the Rays is I think we all notice this. The bats are so streaky. They'll be hot for one game and cold the next. And you're never going to be an above 500 team, let alone a playoff team, let alone a World Series contender, if you're only hitting 500. If you're only 500 and not hitting. And it's sad because our pitching staff is trying their best. And credit to Glasnow and Yarbrough and Fleming and Honeywell and Castillo. And we can keep going down a list of guys who have pitched great, but they're not getting the run support. I see everyone calling Glasnow the DeGrom of the AL because Glasnow is giving you 7 innings a start, giving you lights out pitching, and you're not giving him any run support. How can you expect to win games when your best starter is giving you the best start he can and you're not giving him any runs?
What do you guys think is the answer for this? Because, you know, the streakiness, we can't have the streakiness. We want this on a consistent basis. And the guys that we all thought may have pretty good years starting off have just been fizzled and just terrible. Like Sasugo has been terrible. Adames has been terrible as well. Do you think it's time for the Rays to say maybe we need a shot in the arm of some of the young guys being brought up? I think it's about time maybe Franco. I think it's time. I think it's time. I mean, we're going into the summer months, and the offense has been anemic, you know, past couple of weeks. Ever since they got back from that road trip, and they got home, it's been anemic, the offense is.
Let's put it to you this way. I think the fact that all the minor league affiliates are starting this week is going to start putting some pressure on Tampa. I think Wander Franco needs about 3 to 5 weeks in AAA to get some AAA at-bats against major league caliber pitching before we can call him up, because yes, he faced in spring training, but when he was coming into games, most of the time he was facing the AA guys, you know what I mean, that he never played at AA. So it was good to see that, and he was hitting well against them. So I think we're still another like 3 to 5 weeks away from him. But if I'm Kevin Cash, you got to shake up the order of this lineup. This order is staying the same every game, and you're not getting the production. Why don't you put together a true lineup? Lead off a guy like Willy Adames or Randy Arozarena, who you know has speed. Hit two, a guy who hits for contact, a guy like Yandy Diaz. Then your 3, 4, 5 be power, and then start slotting it in like that. Because I think right now Cash is too much into the sabermetrics of the situation that he is not looking at the play on the field. He's reading too much into these sabermetric stats that he's not using the eye test, which the eye test tells you this team is not very good right now on the offensive side of the ball.
I think what needs to happen is, I mean, if it's very, when I went Saturday and what I saw, you know, the umps didn't help out behind the plate either. I mean, there was a few balls and strikes that should have been, they were just terrible, flat out terrible. So which it didn't help matters the most. But, you know, a lot of these guys are just swinging at just stupid pitches, looking at good pitches and just letting them have for strikes. The lineup they have, and I agree with you, I think the lineup needs to be shaken up. And I would love to see Adames maybe lead off. Maybe that would give him a little bit of confidence. But, you know, he's got to know in the back of his mind that, you know, clock is ticking on his job, where his job is going to be in jeopardy if he doesn't start to hit. So
when do we also put Chad Mottola, the hitting coach's job, on the line? He has not been good. He has not been good since he's been here in Tampa. Like, you can't give him credit, because if you talk to any single one of these Rays players, which I've talked to a few of them when I've done interviews with them, all of them talk about how it was the minor league hitting coordinators, the minor league coaches who got them where they are. It's not Chad Mottola. I mean, we got to give credit to Kevin Cash. He's trying his best. And mind you, there are some things he needs to work on. Kyle Snyder has been widely regarded as a great pitching coach. He has been widely regarded as a guy who's helping this Rays pitching staff, especially this very young pitching staff. But Chad Mottola has proven season after season that he's not the answer. So when is his job going to be on the line? I
would think this year. If they're inconsistent in such an anemic way for the rest of the season, he's got to go. They need somebody to come in to shake things up, maybe a breath of fresh air that can get these bats going, because right now, you know, going into each series where we're now, you know, you're playing pretty good teams. I mean, Houston is Houston. I mean, they've been kind of the bottom of the barrel for the, you know, first couple of weeks of the season, but like now you're going to be going up against good pitching. And that to me it's a little scary going into these series. I mean, me and Rob looked at the schedule last week for the show, and you know, I thought May would be kind of a winnable stretch of games, but now I'm not so sure anymore. I mean, coming out of May, I don't think this team has what it takes to maybe be 500 by the end of May. I really don't.
And it's bad. It's a really waste of good pitching.
Right.
I mean, you guys alluded to all the different pitchers, and the Rays have not had bad pitching this season. They really haven't. It's just finding the bats. I mean, these one-run games, we win by one, we lose by one, or we only score one.
And Schooley, let me hop in and say this. The problem is the offense. The pitching has been great, like you just mentioned. Yeah. And the defense has been spectacular. I didn't know Randy Arozarena could play defense like he is. Yes, sometimes he makes bonehead mistakes. Mind you, he's still a rookie. He's young still. We think of him as high and mighty because of what he did in the postseason, but he is still a rookie. Kevin Kiermaier, when he's healthy, is still one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. Margot is no slouch. Meadows is no slouch out there. Brett Phillips has shown that he can make plays. On the infield, Adames is making plays. Wendell has been has been amazing, and we'll get into more of him later. I mean, Brandon Lau is still making the plays even though he can't hit. The only problem defensively right now is first base. Yoshi Tsutsugo needs to be off this team. He can't hit. He can't play first base for crap. And I think as soon as G-Man Choi comes up, DFA or option or something. Get him some at-bats at AAA because we brought him straight to the majors. Mind you, there was no minor league season. He needs some at-bats in AAA. Maybe it'll get his head right.
Yeah, I mean, you think he's just holding a spot there for Choi. I mean, and Choi, didn't he start assignment now? Isn't it?
Yeah, he's. I think he's rehab. I think he's in his rehab assignment right now. He's in.
That's what I thought.
I think he's down in
Yeah,
Durham.
he did a simulated game would be today, and then he's gonna join Durham for tomorrow.
Yep.
And then he is gonna do he's gonna play there for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. They want him to get about 30 to 40 at bats and then call him up.
Which they need him desperately also in the lineup too, because I mean he can get those big hits, but his first base defense is missed. I mean the dude's a scooping machine.
He's also a left-handed power bat that we're missing because Brandon Lau is not producing right now. The only two people in this Rays lineup that are actually producing are Randy Arozarena and Joey Wendell. If it weren't for those two, he's barely producing. He's producing once every 10 games.
Meadows has been quiet the past couple of weeks, and like today was his first homer.
You look at the stats: 93 at bats, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, struck out 27 times, a 215 average. That's not going to give you anything. He's not Joey Gallo, who's going to put up 40 home runs a year, 50 home runs a year that you can, and he plays exceptional defense that you can afford for him to hit 215. We need him to hit at least 250 and start being more consistent, not a home run and 3 RBIs every 5 games. That's not what Meadows is. Meadows needs to be more consistent. And Arozarena and Wendell are the only two who are being consistent, and that's why they're in the lineup every single day. I'd also like to see Michael Brusso get some more at-bats because when he's been in, he's looked pretty good. He just needs more at-bats, and I think that's the story with a lot of these guys on the bench because looking at the stats here, Brett Phillips obviously not having a great season. Francisco Mejia has 52 at-bats, hitting 288. Manuel Margot, he's starting to come around a little more. Mike Brusso has only 50 at-bats. Mind you, he's hitting right around 200. But if he got more consistent at bats, I think he would be more consistent. And we saw that when he was hitting in the playoffs.
And I know Mejia is he's still relatively young behind the plate, but when the dude's in there hitting, he can hit.
He's 25. He's 25 years old, and the hit tool has always been his biggest thing. And he's been defensively solid this year.
I just don't understand. I mean, I get the sabermetrics, I get the analytics. I know Cash and the front office live and die by this, but now it's gotten to the point where let's just play baseball. Let's put the guys in that can actually hit in the lineup, and let's not worry about, okay, well, this guy does well against left-handed hitters or left-handed pitchers. Let's not worry about this anymore because now it's frustrating to watch when they're not even hitting, and that's what kills me the most is when they're not even hitting and wasting the good pitching. It's like let's put aside all the sabermetrics, man. Let's just put the guys in that are actually consistent or actually hitting right now and get those guys they at bats like Brusso, like Mejia, like those guys. It's gotta come to it because when it gets down into June and July, trades are gonna happen. Somebody they're gonna make trades, and I want to ask you guys about that. Is who should we trade for? Who should we trade for?
I think a cool bat that I was talking to some of my buddies about. There are 3 names that are guys I want to see us bring in. I've got 2 hitters. It's actually 4 guys. 2 hitters, a starter, and a reliever, okay? My 2 hitters I'd love to see us bring in. Katel Marte out there in Arizona. He's a switch hitter. He's got an electrifying bat. He can hit for power, but also gives you contact, can hit anywhere in the lineup. He can play all 3 outfields and up the middle. He's a good defensive asset who can play pretty much anywhere. So I think that'd be really good. I know this would maybe never happen, and I know this one's sort of a little bit more farther fetched to be said, but I'd love to see us take someone like a Ryan Mountcastle or a Trey Mancini that is consistent, because consistency is key. And right now, if the Rays had some consistency, it'd be huge for them. It'd be great for them. Then on the pitching side of things, I'd love to see Herman Marquez of the Colorado Rockies come into this team. I think he would be a great addition, slot in right behind Yarborough, right in front of Hill and Fleming. He'd give you a new angle, a different look, a different pitch speed, and a different pitch differential. And then I think one reliever I'd love to see us bring in is I don't think we really have a dominant lefty in the bullpen like we have had in the past years. 2 lefties that come to mind are Sean Doolittle and Jake Diekman. Those 2, I think, would be great additions to our team, and I think they would really give us a different look in the bullpen that we don't have because Jose Alvarado, mind you, he's having his own difficulties right now, but he's pitching pretty good, and we don't have that lefty that we had when we had a guy like Alvarado.
Looks like Evan had to go for a minute. They're going to have to go for hitting. I mean, they're not going to need any more pitching. You're going to have plenty of pitching to get you, hopefully, to get you through the season. I was just looking to see. I was looking up if there was any kind of rumors going around right now.
But mind you, we always say they have enough pitching. But the thing is especially in Tampa, I know they've got plenty of guys who are in the minors and stuff, but you can never have too much pitching. And I think there are definitely some guys who pitching would be very, very helpful, especially a left-handed bullpen arm, because McClanahan, McKay are guys who need to be starters. They are not relievers. Okay. They are not guys who we really want to see in relief. We want to see them come in as starters. So I want a lockdown lefty reliever who's been dominant for years that we can use and bring in, because that's the only thing this bullpen's missing right now. Mind you, they're missing a bunch of pieces who are hurt, but that's really the only thing they're missing.
But is that gonna fix the Rays' issues right now?
I mean, I don't know, but I think it'd help. I know the problem is offense, but we've got plenty of offensive guys. Let's look at our top 30, okay? Wander Franco would be a great call-up. Vidal Brujan, great call-up. I think Taylor Walls would be a great call-up if we had him up here. Josh Lowe, he's ready to come up. I think a guy even like if we got more at-bats for Kevin Padlow, he'd be a great option to see up here. I think if we got some more action for some more of these prospects who we know can hit well, we'd be just fine. And that's the problem. We're not giving those guys enough at-bats. Yeah, I think the minor league season is going to help them, but until they get more at-bats, why do we trade unless we know what we have and we're working with? Right. And I think we've got plenty of depth in the minor leagues that we can use it. The Rays are just too scared to sit down one of their starters, quote unquote.
So according to
call up a young guy.
Top 10 prospects for the Rays: Franco, Brujan, McKay, McClanahan, Edwards, Baz, Walls, Jones, Wilcox, and Bitsko are their top 10 prospects that they say for the Rays.
Yeah, I mean, they're there. I think that Josh Fleming has been real solid this year. I think all the prospects we've seen come up so far this year, with the exception of Padlow, have looked really, really good. And all of them have been pitching. I mean, the pitching has never been an issue here in Tampa especially. But, I think a bat needs to come, something. And I don't know who that bat's going to be. I don't know where it's going to come from. Are you liking
Wacha?
I didn't like it when they brought him in. He's so 50-50 for me. Like, I'm not sure if I like him, and I'm not sure if I don't. I don't like Rich. I think Colin McHugh is the worst one we signed. I'm not a huge Colin McHugh guy, to be completely honest with you. I'm not a fan that we brought him in. I think it was a slight mistake. I don't think it was the right move to bring him in because of how much young pitching we had. And I think when he comes off the injured list, he's going to be taking up spots for guys who definitely need it.
What about Honeywell? I really think he deserves more.
He deserves more, but mind you, this is the first time he's pitching in a season in how many years? That we've got to pace him. We've got to pace him. And I'd like to ask Evan when he comes back about sort of what he thinks about some of those guys. But just looking through, I was just doing a little bit of quick research on maybe some other guys that we could bring in relatively cheap who might be able to make a difference. A guy like Mitch Haniger out there in Seattle. He's going to probably have a low price tag. He's 30 years old. He's got some good pop against both sides. He's a consistent hitter. You know what I mean? I think he'd be a nice addition to the squad, and I think he'd definitely be different. And it would be good for him. I think it would be a nice change of pace. Obviously, everyone wants to see Joey Gallo in a Rays uniform. We've heard that rumor for now how many years, Schoolie? I mean,
lots.
I mean, that's one of them. I would have loved to see them have Marcelo Ozuna when he was rumored as a free agent here. You know what I mean? Like that's a guy we'd love to see. Maybe a guy like, I know they would never do it, but a guy like Dom Smith, a left-handed power bat. I think a left-handed power bat is what they need to look at right now, because that's the part that's lacking. Let's be honest that is the part in this team that is lacking. A good left-handed power bat, and it's going to continue lacking. And maybe even a Mike Moustakas or a Jesse Winker. I'm sorry I keep going through random names. I'm just looking through different rosters.
But now, and here's the issue, though, is that there's been lots of injuries this year. Lots of injuries. I think more than, and not just on the Rays, on all the different teams. You're going to start seeing a lot more of there not being that many people available because people are getting traded. Yankees trade Talkman to the Giants for Peralta. That was 5 days ago. Paxton undergoes Tommy John surgery. There's just a lot of injuries right now. The A's place. Jesus Luzardo on injured list with fractured hand.
It's hard and it sucks, and I feel bad for all those guys. But it does come to a point where we just have to say, okay, if we have to give up a little more, we have to give up a little more. But if this team misses the postseason, it's not going to go down well, especially with all the with everything being talked about the Montreal move. And I'm sure we hate to talk about that, but the Montreal move, there's so many things that if this team doesn't go to the postseason, it's a problem.
What about?
Oh God, I don't like that joke. I don't like that laugh, Schoolie.
Yasiel Puig. He's gonna sign with a Mexican team.
He has signed with a Mexican team. And,
No.
I realize that's all it took to get you to come back.
No,
that's the magic word to get Evan to come back.
No, we don't need him.
Please elaborate.
Dude, I mean, do I really need to, and why we don't need him at all?
I mean, it would definitely bring some headlines to the Rays.
It would bring headlines, but not the good ones that you want.
Yeah.
Hey, as they say though, any publicity is good publicity.
I don't think he would mesh well in the clubhouse. I think it would just be a disaster.
So Evan, here's sort of the main thing I talked about them needing to trade wise while you were away. A left-handed power bat.
I agree.
A guy like one of my favorite names that I mentioned that I wasn't even thinking about. A guy like Jesse Winker of the Reds. Something like that. Maybe a little bit cheaper option. Someone who can definitely give you some bombs, but someone who can hit from the left-handed side. Because Brandon Lau's not doing it for you. G-Man Choi's not healthy right now. But there's something that needs to happen. And you know what? I'm okay with getting rid of Kevin Kiermaier. I'm okay with getting rid of
That was going to be my question. Who do you think we move on from?
Kevin Kiermaier. I've been saying this for the past 2 seasons that maybe it's time for him to go. I mean, obviously he's making the most money on contract wise, but production hitting he sucks. I mean, listen, I know he's a 3-time Gold Glove winner, but we've got center fielders for days. And I think it's time for the Rays to actually move on, trade him while his value is up there. That way they get enough back. And it's just time, man. Like, and plus his comments last week, I'm the greatest center fielder. Like, when did you become such an egotistical guy? You were never like this before. When did all of a sudden, you're not the greatest center fielder, man? Ken Griffey Jr. is.
Do we move on from Willie Adames too? We've got 2 young shortstops in Franco and Walls. I think Walls is a better shortstop than Franco, defensively, not offensively, obviously. But I think here in like a year and a half, 2 years, here's how you're going to see the sort of middle infield. You're going to see Walls at short, Brujan at second, Franco at third. And that's going to be your infield for the next 6 years, Tampa. Get used to those names.
Jerseys.
Let's not bring that up.
Is there a way we can mute Schoolie? Where's the mute button?
I have the controls.
to go back to that statement, I think it's about time to move on from those guys. And this is what I feared was going to happen after the World Series bid. Like, we're going to have that hangover, and this team, obviously the loss of Morton and Snell kind of stings a little bit, but I mean, I think we're doing okay pitching wise. But when it comes to
it's just like 2009.
Exactly. It's just like that. And I think it's just time to maybe part ways with the guys that, need to be gone. And let's start looking towards the future and maybe kind of bringing those guys up right now. That way they can be major league ready for next year. And I'm okay. Look, I tweeted this out today. I'm okay with this being a disappointing season. And I saw
that tweet come out from you.
I'm prepared for that. It's okay. I'm okay with that because we've got so much young talent just waiting and ready to go, that the next few years are going to be great because of the young talent. I just think it's time for guys like Kiermaier to be traded away. Maybe it's time for Adames to go to as well. And listen, the Rays were thinking about trading Adames in the offseason anyways to the Reds, I believe it was. So I think it's time. And let's put something together, pull the trigger, and let's do it.
Let me put out this hypothetical. All right, Adames and Kiermaier for Luis Castillo, Jesse Winker, and a prospect.
Give it to me. I'm
because
okay with that.
One thing,
we had
here's
this
the thing
talk.
Here's the thing with Adames, though.
Though, is that I don't think they move on from Kiermaier. As much as I do not think he is that valuable to this team, he is valuable to the fans.
No, he is not. No, he is not.
Not the male fans. Not the male fans.
So right, I'm sorry, but the female fans are 20% of what Tampa Bay is.
Schoolie,
here's the thing: he's an a-hole.
Glasnow has taken over Kiermaier's spot. Glasnow with his long locks, his beautiful eyes. That's why they
Kiermaier's an a-hole to young kids when trying to get autographs. Like, let's take that into account. Young fans are probably getting turned off because this guy just basically, shooed me away when I'm trying to get an autograph. He is notoriously
that too.
Right, he is notoriously known now as the guy who won't sign autographs. He is notoriously known as the a-hole who will not take time out of his day.
And if fans aren't prepared for it, that's just tough, man. It's business as usual as a Rays organization. We're going to trade away a fan favorite to somebody else. Like, they should be prepared for that. And if it happens, it happens. Like, I'm not gonna shed a tear over them, trading Kevin Kiermaier, which they should have done last year or the season before that.
And here's my thing. If Josh Lowe in Durham, if Josh Lowe gets hot early, if he starts getting hot defensively and offensively, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Rays. And I think what it is, Josh Lowe is better than Kevin Kiermaier offensively and very similar defensively. So in Durham, if he's in that lineup every day, which he will be, getting hot, hitting well, he's going to force the Rays' hand because Kiermaier needs to go. And I think Adames has a lot more trade value than a lot of fans think because of his high upside, and he's a young shortstop who has shown that he can hit. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. They just look at the stats now, but he's shown that he can hit. So he will have a lot of upside. And also, I love Willy Adames as a clubhouse guy and as a fan guy. He's great. And that's another thing that teams take into consideration.
I could see if the Rays need to pull a trigger, let's do it. Because if it's going to be like this month and then going into June and July, it's time to shake things up, man. I really do. It's got to happen.
With the Rays is that it's always the unexpected that ends up doing better for the Rays.
Right.
Joseph Patrick Wendell.
So bring up those minor leaguers where there isn't going to be that much major league at bats and see what they do. They could surprise you and just turn this club around.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for the new generation of Rays players to come up now. I think it's time.
I wish they gave Kevin Padlo more of an opportunity than he got. Because Padlo, the thing with Padlo is every time he started at a new level, if you look at his stats, every time he's moved up a level, he started off cold until he got acclimated. They didn't give him enough time to get acclimated. If you look at all of his stats, it takes him about 15, 20 games to get acclimated. Mind you, he'll give you a few hits here and there, but he's a great bat. And he also plays a really damn good defensive third base. So I think you're not giving him as much of an opportunity. And then when we bring up all these young guys, you got to give them opportunities. You saw what happened when you gave Randy Arozarena an opportunity. Why not do it for the rest of these guys?
Randy.
That guy named Randy.
Hey,
So
MF
while you're
named
gone,
Randy.
we made a talk real quick, and we wanted to get your Watcha and Honeywell real quick. What's your opinions on them this year?
I've liked what I've seen so far. After that rough first inning he had, I think it was last week, he really bounced back. Keep him in there, man. Keep him in the rotation whenever you can.
What are you talking about?
What?
Watcha or Honeywell?
Oh, Honeywell.
Honeywell. What about Watcha? What do you think about him?
Waka. I like what I've seen him. I mean, he had his first couple of starts were iffy at best, but he's really kind of turned it around. Like him and Rich Hill are like kind of in the same boat. Is they'll have a great stretch of a couple of good starts, and then they have a really shitty one, and then they bounce back. So, I would say keep Waka in there because of the experience, because he's a veteran. I would maybe move Honeywell into the bullpen.
You see, I'm going to have to sit here and disagree with you real quick, because my opinion is that Waka is taking a spot away from one of these young guys who we've already seen produce. Honeywell, Patino, McClanahan, Fleming. The reason why we don't see all four of those guys in the rotation at the same time is because of the old guys, Rich Hill and Michael Waka, and they need opportunity. You're not going to. You want them to pitch as best as they can, but if you don't give them regular starts, how can you expect them to be consistent if you're not giving them regular starts?
I think Waka's last couple starts have merit him being in there because he's pitched pretty well. He hasn't had any kind of bad start probably since the first couple of weeks of the season. So I would keep Waka, his spot's there for now. I mean, obviously it's for now until, it's time to transition and bring those young guys into the rotation.
But haven't we seen more out of Patino and McClanahan and Fleming and Honeywell? Haven't we seen more from these guys than we've seen from Waka?
Aiden, if I had it my way, I would have all those guys in the rotation and kick Waka and Hill out. You would have Glasnow, you would have Yarbs at number 2, then you had Fleming, then you have Patino, then you have Honeywell. That's the scenario I would love to have, but it's not going to happen. So, and in the meantime, we gotta have these veterans in there to do what they need to do for now, and then when it's time to switch it over to the young guys, it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen now. I can see it happening later in the season after the All-Star break. That could happen because you never know
when Price comes back.
Because we still got Archer and McHugh on the IL.
That's true.
We've got too
many arms.
There's too many old arms.
Yeah.
It's creating a logjam. I love Chaz Rowe. I love Chris Archer.
It's a good problem to have, though. It's a good problem to have because of depth.
I get it.
Good problem to have.
I get it. It's there for depth. But if we're not making a playoff run, at what point do you try to cash in on guys like Waka and Hill who are a little bit higher? Maybe try to trade them for a prospect to give these young guys more major league experience. Because I'm sorry, spring training in AAA is not the same as major league experience. I'm sorry.
Aiden, just 5 minutes ago, you were saying you can never have too much pitching.
You can have too much pitching, but these old guys are not the answer. These old guys are you can never have too much pitching, but the Rays have so much pitching depth. You look at their roster, that there are guys in AA right now who'd be on major league rosters for some teams right now. So my point is yes, you can't have too much pitching, but right now these old guys are hurting the Rays' development, not helping.
If only we could manage a team like I do in the MLB The Show.
I do the same thing. I do the Rays too.
I made a trade the other day. I got Mike Trout for Yarbs, Patino, and I think a prospect for Mike Trout. And my team is just destroying people now in the MLB The Show.
Yeah. Why didn't you get rid of Kiermaier?
Oh, I did. Trust me.
You got rid of him. Trust me. I'm shopping him around right now.
I traded him. The best trade I made is I traded him, Greg Jones, and Xavier Edwards for Casey Mize.
Nice. Very nice.
Solid little trade there.
That is solid. That is nice. Yeah, I didn't have any regrets doing my trade.
No, not at all.
For Mike Trout.
Yeah. I was like, I don't see a trade for Mike Trout at all.
No, the video game version of Stu Sternberg was like sweating bullets and trying to find money to pay Mike Trout with the.
You see, that's what I just turned the ignore budgets feature on, so I don't have to worry about Stu in my ear. Just.
Oh man.
So let's talk about the rest of our division. How about Boston?
Fuck.
Can they just stop? Can they just not?
Who knew they would be this good coming out the gate for this season? Who knew?
They were definitely picked last in the division by every MLB expert.
But
do you think
Boston always starts off hot?
I was going to say, is this going to continue on though? I mean, are they going to be consistently winning and hold this first place throughout the whole season though?
They don't have the pitching to do it. They
I
don't
agree.
have the pitching.
Because Toronto's playing well. Obviously, we don't know what the hell is going on with the Yankees. I don't care less what's going on with the Yankees.
New York doesn't know what's going on with the Yankees.
So, I mean, honestly, this division is almost kind of back to the norm of being ultra competitive with the four teams in there. I mean, Baltimore is like the odd man out usually, but now it's, Boston's, I wouldn't even say running away with it right now, but they've got a nice comfortable lead. Toronto's playing well. Rays are playing, 500 ball, and then, the Yankees are the Yankees. But I think, as the season goes on, it's going to be ultra competitive between those four teams.
Every team in the AL East is within 3.5 games of the lead.
I know.
It's crazy. And look, Baltimore is no slouch. And I think we all just say Baltimore because it's Baltimore. But Santander, Mancini, and Mountcastle is a 3-4-5 or a 2-3-4. Is pretty good this season, and their pitching has held up pretty well.
Baltimore's that's like them to begin with, and then they falter halfway through the season.
Correct, but they're also going to be that team late in the season who
spoils.
Just like game 162, they nag at you. They take two out of 3 from you, and you're like, well, damn, Baltimore's under 500, but they just took 2 out of 3 from us, and they helped another team in the division. Baltimore is just like that annoying fly that gets you every second, and just that's the way I describe them. And look,
hey, they could play spoil this year if the Red Sox keep winning and they're in a situation like that. As long as the Red Sox team is eating fried chicken and drinking beer in the clubhouse before game 162, that's fine with me. So I mean, they can play spoils again.
Yeah, well, Boston's sitting in first place. They're tied for the best record in the league, with Oakland, both sitting at 17-12. You have San Francisco and Milwaukee in the NL with 17-11. And then you got Toronto 14-12, the Yankees at 500 ball 14-14, us 14-15, and Baltimore right behind us.
A buddy of mine sent the standings today because he's a Toronto Blue Jay. I'm like, this means what to me? We're in May. Like, congratulations, your team is in second place in May. Let's pump the brakes there, Skid Row, and then let's wait till the end of the season until the standings happen. I
was talking to one of my coworkers on the phone earlier, and he's like, I was working, and he's like, "Oh, you're working?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I'm watching the Rays lose." and then it was
surprise.
Yeah. And then it was when it was 3-0, and then they come back in and win it. And I was like, by the way, Rays win.
I think what needs to happen right now, especially here in Tampa, is something needs to be done with the
owner. Yes. The owner needs to be strung up. Yes.
The owner, but also just something needs to be done at the top of the division, at the coaching. The coaching is what's getting it right now. And look,
listen, I said this before the season started. If the Rays don't make the playoffs or go back to the World Series, is Kevin Cash's job on the hot seat. A lot of people thought I was nuts, but I mean, he's been the manager for how long now?
Oh, I would have gotten rid of him. I think the World Series last year saved his ass.
Barely.
I don't think he's as bad as you guys think.
I don't think he's a bad manager, but it's just I think it's time for a shakeup, man.
He's too careful.
Yeah.
He's too careful.
And I think he lost a lot of that trust with the whole World Series debacle with him pulling Snell when Snell was on a roll. And that lost as a fan, that lost my trust in that guy and Kevin Cash when he did that. Like I threw out going forward with him and making kind of decisions, in type situations like that. Because if we're in another World Series again, hopefully we get there again, and it comes down to a situation like that. Is he going to do the same thing he did with Snell? Is he going to pull a guy when he's rolling? Which, to me, he should have known as a player. If your pitcher is rolling and it's cruising by in a World Series type situation like that, you never pull your starter like that. And that's why I lost a lot of respect for him, because they could have won that game and just changed the whole World Series altogether.
Well, and that's going to be in the back of any other pitcher's mind if they get to the World Series again. It's going to be like,
oh, you're going to pull me?
Right.
You're going to pull me now?
If I screw this up, are you going to pull me?
Yeah.
He's going towards the steps. Oh no, here he comes.
Do you guys think his job is on the line if they don't get if they end up at 500 or below at the final standings? Do you think his job is on the line?
Oh yeah, I think he's gone.
Okay. Aiden?
I'm not sure. I think I think something would have to go extremely, extremely wrong for him to lose his job. I think the Rays organization itself is going to keep him here until they physically can't anymore, just because of the fact that he got us to the World Series. In my opinion, Joe Madden was here 2 years too many, but that's because he got to a World Series. His last 3 years in Tampa were not good. His last 3 years in Tampa were not good.
It was a name. I mean, Madden was here because of his name. That's what got him the job. Then he proved himself good. Tampa is known for the names. Any of our sports teams, they bring in these names to put butts in the seats. No matter if
they also bring championships too. So
yeah, whether it's the Bucks, the Lightning, the Rays, they will bring names to put butts in that seat. But then it's quickly, what have you done for me lately? And I think that's where the Rays will go with Cash. I don't hear the clubhouse speaking up for him too much as they used to anymore. So I don't know if he still has that clubhouse or not.
I think he still does. I think right now they're not playing at the level everybody thought they were going to be. So I think that's why we would hear about the drama. Trust me, ESPN would be all over that. Oh, there's drama in the clubhouse with the Tampa Bay Rays. So that we would, yeah. Or if we asked one of the insiders that we know, we could ask them, and they could disclose some information to us. We could tweet that out.
Can I tell you how weird it was though, watching the highlights from today's game, listening to this guy.
Oh, on the other side of the ball.
On the other side of the ball.
I miss that man. I miss that man so much.
Let me tell you, he was my mom's favorite person in the world. I had to take her to a Rays game just so she could meet him because she was in love with him. She had the hots for him, and he was very nice and came over. But it was so weird listening to the highlights, getting ready for this show and hearing Todd Callis cheering on the Astros for against the Rays today. It was the strangest thing hearing that voice again.
I miss him, and I hope he comes back to Tampa when Dwayne Stats decides to retire.
I think he's got a cushy job in Houston. He's probably going to
I was going to say, Houston's going to give him more money.
Ain't that truth? That's the reason we don't have half of the guys we have.
Guys, I got to jump off. Have a good rest of the show.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Evan. See you next week.
See you.
This is why I don't have kids. Poor guy.
This is why I'm a college student.
That's right.
It's a Sunday night. I have nothing besides my girlfriend, hanging out with me. I got nothing better to do, and hopefully we'll, wrap up here soon. And
we'll end the show real quick. Who's your MVP of the team so far?
Joey Wendell and Tyler Glasnow. Hey, they're the only two producing. I mean, Randy is in the conversation, but Joey's doing it on both sides of the ball, and Glasnow's been the most dominant AL starting pitcher this year.
And we heard Evan kind of mention it. There was something I was going to ask you guys about that whole the Randy and KK thing that happened this past week.
The media is reading way too much into it. They already admitted there was no ill feelings. And look, I played baseball in high school. If the center fielder crawls for it, the center fielder gets to take it. And that's baseball. That's baseball knowledge in IQ school.
Comments, though. I didn't like KK's comments.
I think KK needs to be out of this team, but that's also for other reasons. He didn't make the right comments. He's an a-hole, but he's still on this team. And until he's not, I'm going to support him.
Right. I feel you there. So yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, now you're getting too arrogant. And your days in Tampa are probably numbered. But then, I've seen the business side of some teams before, and if they could get the 20 to 28-year-old females into their sport, they're all about it.
Tyler Glasnow's doing that more than Kevin Kiermaier anymore. The fact that Kiermaier is married, has a kid, has another one on the way. Exactly. He's got 2 kids. He's not what he was when he first came up.
Right. Didn't the second baby, didn't they just give birth?
Yeah. Glasnow's, I think, in a relationship. I'm not sure if he's engaged or married or just dating, but he doesn't have any kids. He's still he's the hot shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one of my coworkers, they like to play the who would you go gay for? And he said Glasnow was his. If he was gonna go gay for anybody, it would be Tyler Glasnow.
Mike Trout, just because of the contract, so I can get some of that money.
And the funny thing is that he kind of looks like Glasnow.
Oh God!
Last year when we were doing the show, I was having to do some of them at work. And he would walk in behind me and they'd be like, "Is that Glasnow behind you?" And I was like, "No, but he's got the long flow and everything else."
Honestly, underrated looks on the Rays, Josh Fleming. He's underrated.
Yeah, well, girls are going to have to find somebody else because I agree. I think KK needs to go. Unfortunately, I do know quite a bit of females that buy tickets just to go see him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if that...
Wait till they see Josh Lowe, though. He's a bit of a looker.
Well, they need to start getting these. See, and that was something the Rays used to do that. I mean, of course, it's COVID right now, but they don't do it all that much in the last couple of years. You used to, back in the hit show, and those years, you used to see them all out in the community, signing autographs at car dealerships, going to all children's, going. I remember when Canseco was here, they put him everywhere. When Pena was here, he was everywhere.
Longoria opened a whole restaurant and was there every night. They did the Reading with the Rays promotion where the guys would go into local libraries or local elementary schools every day. But the Rays of now are not the same as the Rays of old, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, we talk about this in the Lightning podcast too, because the Lightning doesn't really do any of that anymore either, pre-COVID. And the Rays have gone away from it. And the Bucks seem to last year or the year before COVID, they seem to still be with it, and they're getting about 45,000 in their stadium because the other one's usually the opposing teams fans. So, they're getting 60,000.
Besides the fact that it's the NFL, but you wonder why Tampa sells out every game when it's football.
Right.
But any of the other sports, it doesn't.
Well, hockey it does.
Hockey it does, yes.
19,092. We have a complete sellout almost every game.
19,092?
Yep. The year we were made, 1992.
Yes, sir.
So,
but we'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah.
Make sure to tune in Tuesdays, ladies and gentlemen.
Tuesday nights, I will be joining Shooter and Stash on We the Thunder, and then every Sunday we'll be coming back and doing these We the 98ers. So, anything else before we go for tonight?
Rays up, Rays fans, hold your breath. Make sure you tune in. Remember, this week is late night with the Rays. They're on the West Coast, so either drink your coffee or watch the highlights in the morning.
Yeah, what do we have? Is it 4 games against?
4 games against the Angels and 3 against Oakland, I think.
Looking at what 4? Yeah, then 3 against Oakland.
I believe
we
a
got
9-10 first pitch, and then a 3-10 and 3-10.
Yep. 9:38, 9:38, 9:38, 9:38, 9:40. The first game against Oakland, then 4:07 and 4:07.
Yep. So make
And
sure
then a
on
day
those
off, and then the
weekdays.
Yankees. Thank God the Yankees are coming.
The Yankees.
Yeah, so then we can get some
Well
more
against
wins.
New York.
We can get some more wins in there. And then
Oh,
we
yeah.
go right from the Yankees into the other New York team. So we might be able to get. I know Evan had said May looked like a pretty good winnable month, and looking at it real quick, it does look nice for us. Hopefully.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, just stick with it, stick around. It'll get better. I promise. It will get better at some point.
And for Evan, who had to leave early, for Aiden and myself, thank you for listening to We the 98ers. Don't forget to join us next Sunday, 8 p.m. We'll be back. Have a great night, everybody.